Welcome to this week's episode of The Climate Impact, where we bring you the latest in local weather and environmental stories from WTOL 11's team of reporters and meteorologists. From Lake Erie water quality and forecast outlooks to global climate trends, we have you covered for all your climate stories that impact you and your community.
For college students, it helps to get a hands-on experience of what you're studying. One Energy invited some students from University of Findlay to learn the trade. Ryan Lucene joined in on the visit.
Students at the University of Findlay have stopped by One Energy to learn where the winds of their studies take them after college.
We give them a tour of not only the facility, but also a lot of the operating projects here at the North Findlay Wind Campus. So they'll get to see the inside of a wind turbine. They'll also get to do hands-on activities.
Touring the grounds, these students were given a close look of turbines to see how sustainable wind energy was made. The group is from Carrie Teeple's Human Impact on the Environment class, where they learn how people impact the world.
It's really important for this generation to understand how choices we make on a daily basis are affecting the climate or the biodiversity.
Bauer Sarah of One Energy says that the company hosts visits to show kids interested in the field what they do, as well as giving them a new way to learn the trade.
I think a lot of times when you're in class, it's really easy to get into the theory of everything, but actually seeing industry and seeing hands-on equipment and also operating projects is really exciting because you get to see what you're learning in real time.
For students like Bailey Romanowski, who is a sophomore majoring in animal science pre-vet, learning about what One Energy does for the environment is important.
It is interesting to learn more about the environment, and honestly, as an animal science major, I still need to know about the environment because I'm going to be working with animals.
Workforce development gives students a chance to experience their field outside the classroom, not only helping scout career opportunities, but expanding their knowledge.
I think it's very good for other majors, especially to get to experience this because you get to see different aspects of learning, especially because it's not just I'm a science major, so it's not just I'm not taking chemistry. I'm experiencing a different class, and it's so interesting because I'm not learning about the same thing every day.
Reporting in Findlay, Ryan Lucene, WTOL 11.
Hey there, meteorologist Kaylee Bowers here. We saw a tornado the other night. Now Ohio has seen 71 tornadoes so far for the year 2024. And this is the most tornadoes we have ever seen in 1 year. And 2024 is not over just yet. The last time we saw this many tornadoes was 1992 with 62. So yeah, we already broke that record a couple months ago. 71 tornadoes so far for the year. So the one that we saw was in Preble County. This is just east of Eaton in southwestern Ohio. Of course, more information will come as survey crews will be out surveying the damage. But again, 71 tornadoes so far for the year 2024. And of course, for the latest weather information, check out the WTOL 11 weather app.
Well, finally, some wet weather over the last week or so. After several rounds of rainfall, you may be wondering, where do we stand on the drought conditions as we round the corner from September into October? And how will the potential drought impact the fall harvest as well as other fall activities? Meteorologist John Birchfield here with the latest Climate Friday newsletter. We're going to be talking a rainfall update as well as where we stand on the drought and how things are expected to evolve in the coming weeks. If you're not already subscribed to the Climate Friday newsletter, head to WTOL.com/email for the latest climate-related information each and every week. We've been monitoring the impacts of this drought over the last several weeks, a quick-acting flash drought as it's known, with rainfall really been sparse over the latter half of the month. So how has the drought impacted the Buckeye State? Well, believe it or not, even though we saw some rainfall locally this last week, severe drought has expanded over the course of the last week or so across Ohio, and the number of Ohioans suffering from a severe drought has grown markedly. Now, 64% of the Buckeye State is under a severe drought, and that number has gone up by 5%. A week ago, 59% of Ohioans were feeling a severe drought. Now, that is up to a 64%. So it goes to show that the rainfall was not experienced by all. Also notably, the entirety of Lucas County is feeling a severe drought. and that is something that remains unchanged even with the recent rainfall. The latest drought monitor still shows you a significant chunk of northwest Ohio under that level 3 severe drought shown in orange, stretching from Ottawa County and Lucas County down towards Wood County and many locations west of I-75 neighboring Indiana, including Williams, Fulton, Henry, and Defiance counties, where rainfall is very much needed. All of Lucas County now under a severe drought, and that fact remains unchanged. Now, Wood County did get a decent dose of rainfall this week, but based on the latest data, still showing a severe drought. Hopefully that changes into next week, but this rainfall this week was really not a total drought buster. It was a good thing, but it wasn't quite enough. As far as how much rain we saw this week, there was quite the cutoff right along the span of the Maumee River. Areas south and east of the river saw the highest rainfall totals, with locations north and west seeing a little bit less. Here's some of those heavier rainfall amounts. Locations from Pemberville and Lucky stretching over towards Woodville. We're in the sweet spot as far as rainfall is concerned south of the Toledo Metro, where I'm seeing some rainfall totals that exceeded 2 inches over the course of the week. Certainly good news for those farm fields and lawns in Wood County that were parched and in need of the rainfall. The heaviest rain occurred during Tuesday's severe thunderstorms, and that was in north central Ohio. Areas in eastern Erie and eastern Huron counties, notably from Wakeman up towards Vermilion. That is where some of the heaviest rainfall occurred. And this stretch of purple and pink, that indicates some rainfall amounts in excess of 4 inches of rainfall. Some of those higher rainfall amounts just barely missed our area up towards Lorain. However, portions of Erie and Huron County did get a nice dousing of rainfall, even though it did come along with some severe weather. Now, across the metro, rainfall was much more sparse in nature, with much of the metro only receiving about ½ an inch. There were some amounts closer to 6 or 7/10 of an inch near White House. However, out at the airport, rainfall did not even make it up to ½ an inch this week. Down towards Putnam and Hancock counties, rainfall also very much good news. Between Findlay and Ottawa, there are some rainfall reports in the ballpark of 1 inch to 1½ inches. Now, with the rainfall, we did see a number of severe weather reports, including confirmed tornadoes, most notably in northeastern Indiana, but also one within our immediate viewing area. We are tracking a tornado warning Tuesday evening in Hillsdale County, and an EF0 was confirmed in Camden, Michigan, with max wind speeds of 65 miles per hour. Now, we did get the rain, but it did come with some nasty storms earlier in the week. So where do we stand in terms of monthly rainfall? Not a total drought buster. We did need that rain, but there is still a big time deficit that is not likely to be erased. Toledo is 1.89 inches below average, and rainfall so far this September, at least at the airport, has been shy of 7/10 of an inch. Now, some of you may have seen more rainfall than that. Of course, this is where our official weather observations come in, but locations south of the Maumee River did get a little bit more. Over the course of the past week, Toledo Express has seen just shy of ½ an inch. More rainfall occurred to the south of the Maumee River, but that official rainfall reading of 0.45, frankly, was not enough. Severe drought continues with monthly rainfall not even quite at 0.7 inches of rain. So across the Buckeye State, where does the drought stand? Locations in north central Ohio are starting to see at least a bit of a positive response to recent rainfall. It is abnormally dry, but not technically under a drought. Into northeastern Ohio, rainfall has been a bit more abundant, and it's really central into southeastern Ohio. That is where the worst of the drought is occurring, from Columbus on off to the south and east. The highest levels of drought, known as extreme and exceptional, indicated by those red and burgundy colors, that is where rainfall is very much needed, and unfortunately rainfall did not really strike this week in those spots. For many area farmers, it's already too late, and any rainfall that comes at this point in the season not likely to make a meaningful difference. There is also some severe drought that has expanded into Wyandotte and Crawford counties, but it's really northeastern Ohio that has had it best as far as this month is concerned, and rainfall is concerned as well. Across the Buckeye State, almost every single county is feeling some degree of drought or abnormally dry conditions. Of the 88 counties, 87 of them are drier than normal. That light yellow color I showed you on the map, that is what we call abnormally dry, not officially a drought, but still on the fringe of drought conditions, and we'll continue to monitor that as we head towards the remainder of the month and the start of October. Much of the Buckeye State, including now up to close to 98% of Ohio, abnormally dry or under a drought, and moderate drought. That is something that has remained relatively unchanged from the last week. This number pretty much the same as it was a week ago when he brought it to you in the Climate Friday newsletter. 87.7% of Ohio is under a moderate drought or worse. So when you break down each category of drought, almost every single Ohioan is feeling the need for some rainfall. Moderate drought, that number's been relatively unchanged. Unfortunately, severe drought was a category that did grow in the last week. We're at 59% a week ago, now at 64, and that includes all of Lucas County and most of Wood County as well, although I'm hopeful that at least some of the recent rainfall and also what we're tracking into the weekend with the tropical remnants does help alleviate that. Exceptional drought also grew this week, and extreme drought jumped to the double digits. That is the highest tier of drought conditions, and now 13% of Ohioans are feeling extreme drought. This weekend, as we head towards the chance for additional rainfall, we're monitoring the remnants of Helene, and while it's not going to be a washout, there could be some positive news for those of you that are in need of rainfall. You'll want to stay tuned to the WTOL 11 weather forecast throughout the weekend. And next week, we'll have the first Climate Friday newsletter of the month of October. A couple topics we're going to delve into: the fall harvest. Ultimately, how did the numbers fare and how do farmers deal with all of the drought that has been ongoing? And also, what about the fall colors and the foliage? That is something you may be very interested in, and I'll have the latest coming up in October.
Welcome to this week's WTOL 11 Weather Impact. I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby, and we have a specific topic for you. You may have a hint for it behind me, but one thing we typically hear when we talk about hurricanes, when it is peak hurricane season right now, is rapid intensification. So we're going to be breaking down what exactly that is and how does that impact hurricanes as we go throughout those peak hurricane months. So to break it down for you, what exactly is rapid intensification? But that is when max wind speeds and pretty much sustained wind speeds within a tropical cyclone at least reach 35 miles per hour within 24 hours. So that pretty much means if you have a Category 1 hurricane and then the next day it's a Category 3 hurricane, that's what we define as rapid intensification. We're starting to see that more frequently as we go throughout the years. About 79% of major tropical cyclones do include a bit of a rapid intensification, and that is all due likely to those warmer global warm water temperatures. So look at those current sea surface temperatures throughout the Gulf. It is prime for hurricane and tropical activity. Of course, you see near 90 degrees, that pink. Well, you pretty much have that all throughout the Gulf of Mexico. So anytime you're able to get a hurricane or tropical system that rolls into the Gulf of Mexico, likely to strengthen, and more frequently, we are starting to see that strengthen with rapid intensification. Now, as you break this down with the warm ocean waters, we're seeing a record year so far throughout January, February, March, and April. It's calmed down a little bit, but the last 2 years has been record years for warm water sea surface temperatures throughout the entire world, that is. And that is a problem when it comes to tropical cyclones as well, which really feed on those warmer waters. When we talk about the frequency between extreme and stronger, faster cyclones, it has become a common denominator, at least since 1980. Really didn't see a rapid intensification happening throughout the 1980s and early 90s, but that has really become more common throughout the last 5 to 10 and even 20 years when it comes to strengthening hurricanes and tropical storms. It has also become stronger and faster. We're seeing more and more frequent, stronger and major hurricanes and rapid intensification that happens with at least 35 miles per hour max sustained winds within a 24-hour time span. So basically, to break this down and really try to understand this even more, just this past year, actually, we saw Hurricane Beryl. It was a Category 3 hurricane at 8:57 on June 30th. Just about a day later, it was a Category 5 hurricane at 10:50 on July 1st. So we're talking rapid intensification. That's pretty much what it means. You can see, okay, we have a Category 3 hurricane, but if you're not paying attention, it could rapidly intensify into a major Category 5 hurricane within a day before it gets onto land. So when we talk about that tropical frequency over the at least months, well, typically we start to see that really start to ramp up in August, and of course we are in tropical cyclones, and we're about 5 to 6 on the year. And of course, we did have an active one, which is Hurricane Helene, which has at least made landfall this past week. So that is one thing what we talk about when we see really prime months for tropical cyclones and tropical activity, typically that August and September month. And we're talking 80% of major hurricanes undergoing rapid intensification throughout the last 50 years. So this is all due to those warm waters and of course our warming climate, which is really fueling a lot of those tropical cyclones we do see reach the Gulf of Mexico and even along the East Coast as well. And this has caused problems for many people across the country and especially into our southern states like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and of course, Florida. We're talking billion-dollar disasters over the last 6 years, about $61 billion in disasters of 2018. And we're talking damages with this as well. 2021 and 2022, we can honestly say it was a rough year for many people. We're talking 88 million in damages, and even 2022, a record year of $122 billion in damages and disasters when it came to tropical cyclones. What about that rapid intensification? When we talk about our climate, this is going to be a warming topic, and of course, a more frequent topic we talk about when we're talking about more dangerous cyclones likely happening due to rapid intensification and those warm ocean waters. And also, this causes more exposure to people and property along those lakeshore areas you see into the Gulf of Mexico and also along the East Coast. And it is really going to be a vulnerability to our populations as well, as many people live along those coasts along the Gulf and along the East Coast, but they are being displaced and moved due to those extreme frequencies of tropical cyclones that do happen each and every year and also wiping houses away. So this will be a growing topic, at least as we go throughout each and every year when we talk about rapid intensification, and likely going to be a topic or a word you do in fact hear pretty much with any hurricane that likely is to make it throughout the Gulf of Mexico. So that's pretty much what the definition of rapid intensification is and how it is impacting our tropical cyclones, at least as we go throughout the next several years. This has been your WTOL 11 Weather Impact. I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby. Thanks for watching.
Ohio wildlife officials want people to report any sightings of deer behaving abnormally or even sickly. Leaders with the Ohio Division of Wildlife say they're seeing a spike in cases of deer suffering from EHD, a disease typically caused by a type of fly bite. Adding the disease is commonly seen during times of drought. Officials say animals impacted could include deer looking disoriented or showing little or no fear of humans. Some deer might even show swelling in their heads or necks. You're asked to call 1-800-WILDLIFE. If you see any sick deer, you can also report it online. We have a link to do so on our website.
What we're getting right here, right now, is not going to change that drought situation, and the lack of rain has led many homeowners to change their watering habits, mainly because it's just plain expensive.
And according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, this is Ohio's worst drought in more than 2 decades. Dominique O'Neill joins us in studio. Dominique, definitely a lot of people concerned about their lawns and gardens right now.
That's right, Jeff and Kaylee. If you're finding yourself watering your garden and lawn more and more each week, you're not alone. I checked with the lawn and garden expert to see if any permanent damage has been done. Felicity Marshall is a Toledo homeowner. She says the lack of rain has caused some changes to her plants.
I feel like my plants are dying a lot more quickly. They haven't been as lush and beautiful as they usually are, which is kind of sad because you spend so much money on, having this pretty garden and, there's no rain, so I have to keep watering my garden.
While Kenny Brewer says everybody's lawns in his neighborhood are browning except for his.
But my neighbors, I look around and it's brown. Everything's brown, It's like we really are struggling here in Toledo, keeping our grass green, in our plants growing, because of the lack of rain.
Different types of plants that are holding up a little bit better in the heat of the summer.
Zach Edwards is president of Black Diamond, which offers plants, gardening supplies, and outdoor decor. Edwards says about ½ an inch of rain would help your lawn and plants, but certainly it's not going to correct all these problems. so homeowners will have to put in the work. He says on average your lawn needs 1 inch of water a week for certain plants like hardy mums that are blooming right now. While some of them are getting into their full bloom, they need a lot of water, but back off on other things.
So I don't encourage too much fertilization. Essentially, you're just trying to help the plants through this dry period and then let nature take its course as we start to get cooler nights, and that kind of signals plants to shut down here later this season.
And Edwards says he feels pretty confident plants and lawns will return back to normal soon. He says discoloration and dropping leaves are ways plants protect themselves during dry periods. Reporting in studio, Dominic O'Neill, WTOL 11.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. You can catch any of the latest anytime on our WTOL 11 Plus streaming app, available on Roku and Fire TV. Be sure to also download the free WTOL 11 news and weather apps for everything happening in your community and beyond.